What's up, everybody? Back with another video today. I saw that we have another new computer on chess.com. So for today's video, we're going to play one game against the 2200 Deplorable. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but play one game against 2200. We'll see how that goes. I'm assuming that's going to go a little faster, so I'm probably going to throw in maybe 5 bullet games at the end just to wrap up the video. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump into it. We'll be playing white. Make sure I'm recording here. I think so. Challenge mode, of course. All right. Here are all of my very bad. I don't know. I took Spanish in high school. All right, E4. Get the Sicilian. I go back and forth on what I want my response to be to the Sicilian. I still haven't quite figured it out yet. I think my camera's a little wobbly here. Let's we're getting all the camera adjustments here. I'm sure this is great. Maybe that's a little bit better. All right. So typically, especially in like bullet games, my gut reaction is just go knight f3. Also consider knight c3, d3. I feel like I typically don't love the positions I get. I may still eventually play knight f3 and transpose into something that's more common for me, but I think we're going to mix it up. I'm going to go knight c3 on this one. Sometimes I've considered playing c4 as well to get that pawn out in front, but I don't think I need to do that here. Let's get the bishop out. Let's go c4. No knight e5 to chase the bishop away. I honestly am not, especially after e6, I'm not concerned with just dropping the bishop back to b3 and taking a trade there. Considering something like f4, knight f3, I think to start with, I'll just go d3. Give the bishop a little range here. First move comes to mind here is to go ahead and pin it. I don't see a reason not to. Let's go ahead and do that. Bishop here. Now, moves I'm considering f4, knight f3, maybe queen d2, but probably a little premature. Any other moves to consider? Not necessarily. I don't necessarily want to take. Don't really see a reason to. If he pushes h6, I'm just going to drop the bishop back. I'm not looking to trade the bishop for the knight right now. I feel like typically in the Sicilian, pretty uncommon for black to castle queenside. Makes sense, obviously, because that pawn has already been pushed. So I'm leaning towards f4, assuming black's going to castle kingside. Maybe get some kind of attack going with f5. I'm liking f4, and again, after f4, h6, I'm just dropping back anyways. And then that even kind of deters g5 for black. So not disliking that move. Trying to think if there's any concern with d5. Takes. Really should be fine at that point. Could always take the knight here first. Let's go f4. Let's play a little aggressive. Just d6. I don't necessarily want to consider f5 here. Black can always just push. It does give me a good outpost square for my knight, but obviously I don't want to do that because that's gonna lose to some tactics with black's knight taking on d5. So I'm going to avoid that for the time being. I'm thinking just knight f3. Fairly simple move. Give me the option to trade for black's knight if he ever decides to jump in here, which I'm sure at some point knight b4 or d4 is coming. So yeah, I think probably knight f3, getting ready to maybe castle myself, get the rook lined up on this f-pawn. Probably makes the most sense. Let's go for it. Okay, so h6. I'm just going to really quickly look again. Not concerned with this, especially now with the knight. I'm really deterring g5. I don't really see a reason to trade. Yeah. I'll draw back. Queen b6. Interesting move. Could just play rook b1. Not a big fan of knight a4. Obviously queen has check. Wouldn't be the best. I don't really want to give up this pawn. Knight's undefeated in that scenario. I jump knight b5. Probably not great. Definitely premature. I'm looking at if I castled, black takes b2. Maybe then I just jump knight b5, threatening here. Could always then offer queen trade. But I could see myself maybe losing the knight in that scenario. So here, knight b5, threatening the check. Black could drop the bishop back. There's plenty of ways that black could respond to that. Black could also just castle. Probably the most likely move. So let's assume. Let's say I castle. Black takes on b2. Knight b5. Black castles. Rook b1. And so my thought here was I think black's queen is just trapped in that scenario. So if I castle and black takes, after knight b5, I am threatening to trap the queen. Because this square is covered, this pawn is covered by the bishop. Knight's covered, obviously. And then the rook is hitting this hole. Yeah. So probably something to consider, especially after black castles. Knight b5 isn't coming with a threat, so black can, for the most part, just ignore it. But I think I do like castling. Unless I move this bishop, that pawn's never going to give black the discovery with a check. Even if so, I could always drop my bishop back. We'll see. I mean, the computer's 2200, so I don't think it's going to fall for a queen trap. But I do think this works out. Yeah, and so black castles, and now, because black castles, this becomes a threat. Because now if takes knight here, I'm not really threatening anything. Black could just bounce the queen back to b4. My knight's kind of out of place, especially after a move like this. Rook here, black just moves the queen to a5, and I'm still in a position where I might lose the knight. So now other ways to defend b2. Could always go queen c1, but that feels fairly passive. This is a little bit more of a threat now. I could always defend. So actually, never mind. I don't like that move. Drop it back, end up in the same position. I don't really like my knight on a4. Okay, so no knight jumps. Defending the pawn one way or another. On pushes, is that a concern? Could always drop the bishop back to e1 there to threaten some discoveries. Could eventually bring my bishop all the way around if I wanted to, once that knight's out of the way. That gives my knight the outpost on a4 if I ever want it. This does prevent the bishop from retreating, which is not something I need to be concerned about right now. But definitely something to look at in the future. For sure. So that's my only concern right now with b3 is that I'm going to end up trapping that bishop. If, say, like, right, or, say, rook d8, black plays rook d8, maybe this becomes more of a threat. Even then, let's say I do this, rook d8, and I make a move inconsequential, like king h1. Is this a threat then? Takes, takes, here, takes, takes. Still, it's really not. Take here first. If takes, I just take again. Knight could take, I'm fine with that. So here, takes, 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 takes. I think that's a great position. But then this could come into a situation where if I do play b3, and black just moves the queen out of the way, and this becomes a threat, that's something I'll need to deal with, which is probably just going to involve me needing to push this pawn. Could always drop the bishop back to f2 to add one more defender, or just knight back to e2 to push if the queen drops back. Yeah, okay. Don't see a reason not to. And he does just, So he does just push the pawn. I want to hesitate before just immediately taking. I could always do something like bishop b5 to hit the knight. But what's the issue here? Takes. Even if takes with the knight, I just take here. Takes with the bishop first, obviously, then hitting the knight. So I probably don't want to take the knight first. Bishop is protected, which is important. And I could very well start to run into issues where after moving this bishop, black does have the discovery here. So this is a little sharper than I thought. Make sure I think about this one here. I could also take, threaten this. But then black probably just goes here, threatening this and hitting the rook, which would not be ideal. So takes, on knight takes, we just trade bishops. On takes, and then black pawn takes, then I think we take here. And if black takes with the bishop, I take with the knight, and we can ignore the threat on the rook because my knight's hitting the queen. So take here, black has two ways to take back. On knight takes, I just trade. Okay, so this is interesting. On knight takes, maybe just knight takes first. I think it's definitely takes either way. It's not this. So we're going to start with this move. Jumps the knight in. Wow. Okay, so here the threat, I'm sure, is to take here with check, leaving the bishop. Bishop undefended. Not a move I considered. Could jump my knight in as well, but again, that leaves the bishop undefended. Don't love that either way. Could also just drop the bishop back here. That move makes a decent amount of sense. Knight could jump to f5 and hit it. May not be the worst thing. On takes, pawn takes. Then probably bishop takes, and I've at least got the pawn in the way. I can jump the knight in. I like the way that looks. Takes, takes, bishop takes. I'm not concerned about this because I win a piece. So takes, takes, bishop takes, knight jump. Takes here. And then I'm still not quite in threat of getting the bishop trapped, but I'm definitely leaning towards taking here and jumping, or sorry, trading twice. So trading, and then jumping the knight in. Threatening to maybe double up black's pawns by the king if he doesn't respond otherwise. Any other reason not to? I'm not seeing it. After takes and takes, I'm not really concerned about this. My bishop can just take and bounce right back to c4. Leaning towards this. And then takes. I don't think I want this trade, especially to get black's knight in here. So take first, and then knight jump in. Yeah. I completely missed that that came with check. Oh, man. Okay, so we are losing a piece here. Yeah, maybe premature. I'm thinking now back to defending b2, maybe just rook b1. Don't leave that knight undefended. I think that that was the big error here. Maybe I gain a little bit by pushing the pawn. Not really. I'm just going to lose it anyways. All right. Takes. I don't even necessarily know if I want to take there. Thinking about maybe takes, bishop takes. I don't love that. Trying to find some aggressive moves here. Got a pawn for a piece, which is not the trade you want. We can see if we can pull something out. I don't like consolidating, but this seems like the most straightforward plan is just to trade. Maybe push the pawn there and force black to trade. Maybe that's beneficial for me. Opens up my queen. Yeah, I'm gonna start with this. Expecting here. Then was thinking f5. On takes, queen takes, I could push. Probably not much to gain there, but same scenario at least. I don't have pawns doubled at that point. That's probably safer. Let's do this. Potentially pawn takes. Just queen takes. So here I'm thinking maybe queen f3. Still have the threat of f5. It's not really going to accomplish much, but I am at least hitting b7 there. Black could just push, and then I could go f5, and feels slightly improved. At least my queen's in a better spot, and then I could bring the rook in. Let's start with that. There's also on queen f3. Black just goes queen c6. I don't have much going there. Definitely not going to trade queens. So maybe I just bounce up to g4. Still wouldn't be the worst. I think we're going to go for that anyways. On here, I'm thinking queen g4. Yeah. Assume black's going to take over the file. Yep. Now the queen's defending here too, so black could just offer to trade twice. Takes, takes, and then just rook e8 again. Considering a rook lift, not going to amount to much, certainly, but feels like my best bet is to try to get at these pawns. Black could come in, hit this pawn. So I'm assuming black's best move here if I go rook f3 is to go rook e2. Here, rook takes. Not really gaining too much there. And I'm just losing that pawn. I could always, after the rook lift, well, that's still not great. Because in order to avoid the back rank, I'd have to bump one of these pawns up. Can't bump this one because the rook would be pinned. And either one is going to prevent my rook lift from happening. Rook here, rook e2. Here I am hitting the rook, but I assume black just takes. I do get that pawn. I could ring this rook over at that point. And it's just a risk of, am I going to stop the pawn from queening? I think this is really my only decent bet. And then here, takes. Just doubles. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. Let me just threaten mate. Could always go rook g1. Black offers here, I could let him take. Would have bishop f or d4 coming then. So here, I could go f5 to try and hit this. Yeah, that's not great. Not great. Going downhill. All right, so I gotta stop mate one way or another. Obviously can't push the pawn. Could always just bring the rook back to f3. Uncheck, drop back to f1. Seems like the safest bet. I'm gonna let black get a trade in, but guess I can use this to double up. Kind of the same thing. I'm not going to gain much out of it, but also thinking here may be useful just in case I ever need to stop bishop d4. Pawn push isn't really going to do much for me. Queen g4 may not have been the best because in this scenario I really like to get my g-pawn going. And I'm currently in the way of that. Maybe black just has rook e2 next. This feels like a useful move. Yeah. I don't have a good way to stop that. Push. Queen. Yeah. Not great. I don't see a way to get around this one. Other than something like this. Just push. I gotta drop this rook back as well. Yeah. Ugly. Ugly, ugly. Takes. Takes. Queen. Takes. Queen. Yeah. Probably do need to push this pawn now. I'm going to end up losing a or ending up in an endgame where it's a queen and bishop versus a queen. Takes, rook down, takes, pawn pushes, takes back, queen takes, check, king up, and then it's just what can I make in this completely losing endgame. But I don't really see another option. And if I don't move the pawn, then this final take is going to result in a back rank checkmate. Can't push this pawn. Not really a way to stop it, so I think this is my only bet here. Well, seems a little rude and unnecessary, but I guess that works. Play a game of how many queens can black get. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely resignable at this point, but we'll play it out just for fun. Check. Anything to pushing first? I don't think so. Queen. Or that. Nasty. Ooh, checkmate. Yeah. All right. 2200 got the best of me. I really just missed that tactic in the middle there. We'll go look at the review real quick. I didn't feel like I played too bad until that sequence in the middle game, and I'm going to guess that's what happened right here. Make sure you guys can see that. Let's jump through it real quick. So these moves are all okay, I guess. It's giving black a advantage here. I'm going to lose a pawn. Yeah, okay. Fair, didn't consider that. But black doesn't go for it, it's a miss. Okay, best move here. Yeah, it doesn't like b3. It doesn't say that was the biggest mistake though. It likes queen e1, which does make sense. So queen e1 takes here, here. And then what's the follow-up here? So it doesn't like that. Maybe I misstepped here. Rook b1. It just likes e5. Okay, just giving black the pawn and taking the file. Makes sense. Oh, whoops, reloaded the page. All right. Instead I went b3, which it does not like, but also doesn't say it's a terrible move. Just a mistake, makes black slightly better. It didn't like d5. Taking was best. And it doesn't like knight takes here. And yeah, I mean that makes sense. Missing the fact that the knight was hanging with check was the only reason I played here. So instead, well, let's back it up here. Let's see what the computer recommends. I'm thinking maybe bishop f2. Maybe a decent move. Inaccuracy, but better, I guess. What else would it like? Not taking. Take here. Just moving the king out of the way. I don't think that's it. Well, it says it's good. Okay. It wants me to just take. Interesting. That's a good trade. And so on something like this, takes. I guess my queen kind of covers all of the discoveries. All right. So it doesn't like this, obviously, because that's a complete blunder, because that leads to check. So here I am losing a piece, and then I think I'm just worse the rest of the game. Yeah. Yeah, all right. Not much I can do there, but tough go against the computer. I may have to do another computer video where I take on some of these harder ones that I've lost to in the past, but evidently I need to get a little bit better first. So we'll close it out. Let's do 3 bullet games. I don't know if you remember what my rating was in the last video, but it is absolutely tanked. So play a few games, see if we can maybe put a couple ones together, get a win or two, and then we'll close it out. All right, we got white first. It's going to be hard for me to talk during these. My biggest struggle with bullet games is how slowly I move. So don't think talking is really going to help me too much there. Maybe just pin here. That's fine. That's fine. Looking at maybe push. Also wouldn't mind trading off this bishop. I'm fine if white pushes. That's fine. Maybe go rook g1, keep an eye on this pawn. Drop the bishop in. Gives me the rook. We'll take that. Hit this pawn as well. What's a follow-up here? Let's go here. I'm going to take. That was bad. All right. So let's push here. Take the bishop. That was probably not the best move. Definitely not the best move. Let's come back. And I got to bring the rook over. Takes. Here. We'll just push the pawn. Queen up. Man, I am so far down on time. Ugly. Hit the rook. See if I can get a check in. Not going to matter much. Yeah. Very slow there. It doesn't feel like I'm moving that much slower than my opponent, but clearly I am. 15 whole seconds slower. All right, 2 more. You can see now why I have dropped so many rating points in bullet. Oh, I typically take there. It's not what I was going for, but we'll go and do there. Black can push here and take it back, but not overly concerned about it. Okay. That's fine. I think I do at least protect this pawn now. So check. Takes. Takes. Win a pawn there. Not too bad. We'll hit the knight. I think I'm probably just going to take here. Yeah. Good with that. Bring the rook in. And a pawn here. Black can't take because it's pinned. What about check and then the rook in? Ooh, that's not not what I expected. Let's take. I like the way this looks. This is great. Yeah, now I'm winning the rook. It should be a win. Win a pawn. And we'll just push. Take this pawn. Take this pawn. I'm just going to take here. We'll simplify. Man, I'm sitting here trying to film this. My computer is definitely lagging quite a bit. Give me just a sec. Try and smooth it out a bit for this last game here. Okay, we got one and one. I plugged my computer in, so hopefully that'll help. But do one more bullet game, and then we'll wrap the video up. Fianchetto. All right, it's feeling a little smoother now. Okay. Take here. That's fine. Win a pawn. Protect the knight. Hit this bishop. It's an interesting one. Let's take here. And then let's take here. Take here. Okay. Yeah, and now I'm just up quite a bit. Okay. I'm gonna push. And then go here. Okay. Black doesn't want to push. Yeah, I see the point. I see the point. Let's protect this pawn. Maybe I can get a fork in. I'm gonna get a fork in. Probably not. I'm not gonna get a fork in. Man. I kind of butchered this one, and I'm way down on time. Way down. Oh, I don't know if it was going to amount to much, but I did at least have take here. I had at least a draw. Okay, that was disappointing. We're going one more. I got to end on one I feel at least halfway decent about. E4. And that thought process, by the way, is how you lose 200 rating points in a couple sessions. It's by refusing to stop after a few losses. So, you know, maybe not always the best, but wouldn't mind offering a trade here. Win a pawn. Take here, we check. Let's push this. Let's go here. Let's go here, hit the bishop. It just drops it back. That's interesting. I think I'm fine with black taking here. Just push. Not for a trade. Rook check here. I'm fine with trading there. Follow that with knight f5. Interesting. Okay. Just hit the bishop again. Okay. Peculiar. Let's just bump the king up. Let's avoid any checks. It's too slow. It kills me. Losing on time. All right, one more game. We're moving as fast as we can. Let's do it. Very limited talking during this. Trade, push the knight, drop it back, looking for e5. Fine with the mass trade, we'll just castle. Let's go here. Okay. Castle. Okay. And then I want to say black needs to take here. Not going to. Yeah. Take here with check. Take here with check. And then we'll win the rook. All right. It took me long enough, but we finally got a win. So, what, that was either 2 for 4 or 2 for 5 in bullet. Getting my bullet rating back up is going to be a series on its own, especially if I can learn how to talk during bullet games. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. Had a decent computer game other than kind of a bad blunder on my part. Played a few bullet games. Not too bad. We'll wrap it up here for this video, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.